All right, if you're gearing up for the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, you've probably hit a point where you're wondering, how on earth do you keep track of everything in a massive cloud environment? Well, today we're going to break down two super important services that are pretty much guaranteed to pop up on the test: AWS Systems Manager and the AWS Health Dashboard. So let's dive right in.
So just picture this for a second. Your company's cloud setup is, well, it's huge. I'm not talking a handful of servers. I mean hundreds, maybe even thousands of them. Now, how do you actually keep them all patched, properly configured, and secure? And to make things even more interesting, how do you stay in the loop about any issues happening on the AWS side of things that could totally wreck your day? This, right here, is the big challenge of running things in the cloud today.
Okay, so first up, let's tackle that first problem: managing your own giant fleet of resources. For that, AWS has a fantastic tool for us called Systems Manager, and you can really think of it as your one-stop shop for getting operational control. So what exactly is it? The easiest way to think about Systems Manager is like a universal remote control, but with a whole toolkit attached. And it's for all your servers, or as AWS likes to call them, nodes. And the cool part is, it really doesn't care where they live. They could be EC2 instances right there in AWS, servers in your own on-premises data center, or heck, even sitting in another cloud. Systems Manager gives you that single pane of glass to see and manage all of them. Now here's something really interesting, and honestly, this is a super important tip for your exam: the name. You are going to see SSM absolutely everywhere, in the documentation, in the AWS console, even in the names of resources. Just remember this: SSM comes from the original name, which was Simple Systems Manager. Today, the official name is AWS Systems Manager. For the exam, just know that SSM and Systems Manager, they're the exact same thing. Don't let that little detail trip you up. And the security benefits here are just massive. Systems Manager lets you connect to all your instances securely without having to expose them to the open internet. I mean, think about that. This means you can finally stop relying on all those older, frankly, less secure methods. You don't need to juggle SSH keys anymore, you're not opening up risky ports, and you don't have to maintain those special Bastion host servers just to get in. It really just simplifies and tightens up your whole security game. And one of the most powerful pieces inside Systems Manager is a feature called automation. It uses these things called runbooks to basically map out and then execute all those common repetitive admin tasks. So think about something like patching your entire fleet for critical vulnerability. Instead of a poor engineer having to log in to every single server manually, you can just kick off an automation document. And bam, it handles the whole thing for you consistently and across your entire fleet. And here it is. This is the feature that makes all that incredible security we just talked about possible: Session Manager. This is how you connect to your instances without opening any ports at all. It gives you this secure, browser-based command line that's fully logged and auditable in AWS CloudTrail. It is just so much more secure, way easier to manage, and a huge, huge improvement over the old ways of doing things. So if there's one thing to really nail down, it's this: Systems Manager is all about taking action. It is your go-to toolkit for controlling, configuring, and managing the stuff you actually own and operate. It's focused inward on what's happening inside your environment. Okay, so let's shift gears to our second tool and see how this all connects. We've handled what's inside our environment, but now we need to look outward, right? What's going on with the AWS platform itself that could affect us? And for that, we turn to the AWS Health Dashboard. To put it simply, if there's any kind of service issue, a scheduled maintenance window, or really anything else happening at AWS that could potentially impact your resources, the Health Dashboard is the one official, authoritative place to get that information. It's basically your direct line of communication from AWS about the health of their platform. This service has actually changed quite a bit over the years. It started way back as the Public Service Health Dashboard. That page with all the green check marks that we've all desperately looked at some point. But the problem was, it was too general. So then AWS brought out the Personal Health Dashboard, or PHD, to give you alerts that were specific to your account. And today, they've basically merged these two into one single, unified dashboard.
And listen up, because this is another one of those key distinctions for the exam. If you just go to the health page and you're not signed in, you're going to see that public general status of all the services. It's a quick check. But the moment you sign in, that dashboard completely transforms. It becomes your personalized view, showing you only the events that are actually relevant to your specific resources. And that, right there, is where the real power is.
So let's tie that up.
If Systems Manager is your tool for what's happening inside your environment, then the Health Dashboard is your window into what's happening at AWS that could impact you. It's all about information, and it's focused outward.
Okay, now for the really cool part. This is where it all comes together. What happens when we take the awareness we get from the Health Dashboard and combine it with the action capabilities of Systems Manager? Well, that's when we unlock some truly proactive automation.
And this quote right here from the AWS docs, it says it all. These two services are literally designed to work together, and they do it using another service called Amazon Event Bridge. The best way to think of Event Bridge is like the central nervous system for your entire AWS account. It just sits there watching for events, and it can trigger all sorts of actions in response. And this means an event from AWS Health can automatically kick off an automation runbook in Systems Manager.
Let me walk you through a perfect real-world example of this. So AWS Health posts an event telling you that one of your EC2 instances is scheduled for retirement because the hardware underneath it is getting old. Now, in the old days, you'd get an email, and you'd have to remember to go in and manually stop and start that instance to move it to new hardware. But now, EventBridge sees that specific health event. It automatically triggers a Systems Manager runbook, and that runbook performs the stop/start for you. The whole thing just happens completely automatically without you ever lifting a finger.
And that right there, that's the magic. You've just taken a manual, reactive task that's super easy to forget about and turned it into a completely automated, proactive solution. I mean, this is a textbook example of achieving operational excellence in the cloud. All right, let's bring it all home. We're going to distill everything we've talked about into exactly what you need to lock in for that cloud practitioner exam.
Okay, here's your exam cheat sheet. When you see AWS Systems Manager, I want you to think of these keywords: manage, automate, patch, and secure remote access. It is the action tool. It's for what's happening inside your environment. Then for the AWS Health Dashboard, you're going to think awareness, personalized alerts, and scheduled changes. It is the information source, telling you what's happening at AWS. If you can just remember that core distinction, action versus information, you're going to be in great shape.
So as you're studying for your exam, try to think a little beyond just memorizing the service names. Because tools like Systems Manager and the Health Dashboard, they aren't just about making the old jobs easier, they're fundamentally changing what the job even is. You know, the future of being a cloud operator isn't about manually fixing problems anymore. It's about designing these incredible automated systems that can basically fix themselves. So with that, good luck with your studies.